Science reflection. Topic 1. Technology. Imagine yourself without any access whatsoever to any sort of modern technology. Microwaves, computers, and not even one of your devices. Yep, not one. Most of our lives would look exactly like this page, blank. Society has become so dependent on modern technology that a study published that between 2002 and 2007, the average phone call length dropped around 62%, an astonishing number. Now, let me show you a clip of what I'm trying to communicate.
So you're reading an article online when you get an instant message with a link to a funny photo, which of course you have to share. And now you're reading your Facebook news wall, which sends you to a video of a panda bear attacking a kid. And now you're reading Wikipedia to learn everything you can about the violent behavior of panda bears. And this is what 3 minutes on the internet can be like. We live like this all the time, and it has to have some kind of effect on us.
The net is making us more superficial as thinkers.
That is Nicholas Carr. He is the author of The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. To understand this whole thing better, we need to go way back in time, to say, like, the prehistoric age.
You wanted to know everything going on around you, because the more you knew about your surroundings, the less likely you were to get attacked by a predator. And there's even evidence that our brains release some dopamine, pleasure-producing neurotransmitter chemical, to reward us for seeking out and finding new information.
So getting distracted felt good and helped us stay alive. But the problem is that nowadays, predators aren't much of an issue, but we still have the same brains. And also, there's the internet, which is...
It's an incredibly information-rich environment that the net creates for us, and that's why we use it so much. I mean, sounds, pictures, words, text. And what this tends to do is promote a sort of compulsive behavior in which we're constantly checking our smartphone, constantly glancing at our email inbox. We're kind of living in this perpetual state of distraction and interruption.
Which is dangerous because...
that mode of thinking crowds out the more contemplative, calmer modes of thinking.
And that focused, calm thinking is actually how we learn. It's a process called memory consolidation.
And that means the transfer of information from our short-term working memory to our long-term memory. And it's through moving information from your working memory to your long-term memory that you create connections between that information and everything else you know.
So you've got this awesome life-changing piece of information in your short-term memory, but then you hear that email ding and poof, there it goes. That email takes its place and you never get a chance to learn anything, all because of one distraction.
So attention is the key, and if we lose control of our attention or are constantly dividing our attention, then we don't really enjoy that consolidation process.
But I can hear it now. Someone out there is saying, what does learning matter if all the information in the world is just a Google search away? Well...
that is kind of shortchanging our intellects. If that's the way you're using your mind, just kind of searching very quickly and finding information and then forgetting it very quickly, you're never building knowledge. You're kind of thinking like a computer.
Which means that our very humanity is at stake. And it would be a shame if we all got assimilated because, well, humanity is pretty neat.
I really believe that if you look at the great monuments of culture, they come from people who are able to pay attention, who control their mind. That's what allows us to think in the highest terms, and think conceptually, think critically, think in some very creative ways.
And it's this kind of thinking that's at risk, being eroded one cute cat video at a time. Don't get us wrong, the internet is good for lots of things, and it should be celebrated. But the best thing we can do for our minds is to find some time every day to unplug, calm down, and focus on one thing at a time. Your email, and those cats, will be here when you get back.
Overall, what this video is trying to say is that you don't have to pick up your phone every time you finish writing a single damn note in class to check a text, which probably isn't going to change your life anyways. I understand technology is a very helpful resource. We use it to do work, talk, and watch movies. and I understand that without it, mankind wouldn't be anywhere where it is at this very moment. But really, we, as a society, need to snap out of this realm of thought and return to the very fabric of reality before our situation becomes worse. Topic 2. Poverty.
This is Innocent, a newborn baby in Zambia, one of the poorest countries in Africa. What are his opportunities in a world where the gap between rich and poor is still growing? Where the wealthiest 1% possess about 40% of the global wealth, and the 3 richest billionaires own more than the 58 poorest countries combined. In a world where 600 million children live in extreme poverty, and where 19,000 children die of poverty every day, that is 1 child every 4.5 seconds. Where food prices are on the rise again, where nearly 1.5 billion people have to get by on $1.25 per day, the poverty line. That means half a loaf of bread in Europe or the US. Another 3 billion people live on $2 a day, which means a kilo of potatoes in developed countries, where 300,000 women die during childbirth because of medical complications which can be easily treated in the developed world, and where the babies of these deceased mothers have up to 10 times the risk of not reaching their 2nd birthday. Where the life expectancy in Zambia is 52 years compared with 81 years in the Netherlands. Where globally 80% of children go to school, but in Western and Central Africa 40% do not. In the whole of Africa, over 45 million children do not go to school, which means that they will lack the education to be able to work their way out of poverty. During this film, another 25 children have died of hunger-related diseases. Is there no hope at all? There is, because according to the World Bank, in the last 2 decades, real progress has been made. We will reach the most important Millennium Goal by 2015, the halving of extreme poverty compared to 1990. It is possible. Tackling poverty is not a hopeless battle. Also, in times of economic crisis, we must try harder, because only then will there be a future for millions of deprived children, and for Innocent.
Poverty has become a huge issue in today's society. You might think poverty is about not having enough money to meet basic needs, but poverty is much more than not having enough money. Poverty is lack of shelter. Poverty is hunger. Poverty is being sick and not having the resources to see a doctor. Poverty is not having access to school and not knowing how to read. Poverty is not having a job, is fear for the future, living one day at a time. We all take everything for granted. You might argue with me for that point, but think about it. Really, we spend half the days on our devices, when people in third world countries spend half the day walking from one well back to home with no shoes, no clothes, and no food. We are lucky to have all these things. Yet, in the Western culture, it's almost an instinct to compete with one another for a silly thing called fashion. I guess it's human nature in the Western culture to copy someone's clothing style. When one person is wearing those new shoes, you want them. When a celebrity is wearing that new shirt, you want it. You have easy access to clean drinking water, food in the grocery stores, and a shelter, but still we take it for granted. We as a class watched a video called Wastelands this year. There were people living on tops of mounds of garbage, like literally, garbage to earn minimum wage, and that really stood out to me. But when they documented them, they were the most loving people on earth. They didn't take anything for granted. One didn't even have a bed and improvised by using her bedstand and putting a mattress on it. Around 80% of the world lives on less than $10 a day. Will you make a change into how you live every day? Topic 3. Space. This will be more of a reflection than the other 2 topics. In those 2 topics, I was discussing different issues that society faces today, but with this topic, I will be discussing how it has fascinated me. Space really has stood out to me so far this year. I excelled the most at ecology, and it was easy for me to grasp it all. I also took a huge liking to ecology, but space has been a thing I really haven't ever studied. I always knew space was big, and that's common sense, but when Mr. Walia put it into perspective, I was shocked as to how big the universe is, and it's still expanding to this day. giant stars exploding, black holes that don't even let light escape, asteroids, giant meteors that have the potential to wipe out most life on Earth should they hit us, and the fact that we are only that one speck of the universe is incredible. And to add on to it, that picture of the universe you saw is the observable universe. Even science has its own limits, and for now, its limit is that picture. We are almost sure that the universe is way broader than this picture. We won't even be able to fathom it if we see the picture of the whole universe. I'm not sure if we'll even exist to see the farthest reaches of the universe, because according to NASA, it's expanding at a rate of 74.3 kilometers per second per 3 million light years. If those numbers are a little too much to contemplate, rest assured, that's really, really fast. And it's getting faster all the time. Let me give you some questions to think about. You guess, I'll answer. How fast does the solar system travel? The solar system travels at an average speed of 828,000 kilometers per hour. Even at this rapid speed, the solar system would take about 230 million years to travel all the way around the Milky Way, and we question how big the universe is. How many Earths could fit into Jupiter? Approximately 317 Earths. Next question. How old is the Milky Way galaxy? Around 13.2 billion years old. The unit of space has everything to satisfy the curiosity needs of a human. Space gives us a glimpse into other worlds, as well as looking deep into the past of the universe. Because of the immense size of the universe, many of the stars we see no longer exist, but their light is still traveling to us. I have not finished the unit fully yet, but I'm expecting to learn way more than what I have talked about here, and for future classes, I'm hoping you are fascinated by space too.